Much like Slaanesh is creeping into your bed, so is Total War Warhammer 3 creeping into our lives very soon. A few days ago, I asked if any of you guys had some questions about Warhammer 3 that I could answer since I've had early access for just a bit over a week now. We got a few questions here from YouTube as well as the Discord server, so I'll just go ahead and get started answering those questions. How is the overall feeling of the game? Is it similar to Warhammer 2 or is it worse in terms of unit control, UI elements, animation, overall smoothness of the game, so on and so forth? I do need to say that what I am playing on might not be the final build for the game when it releases, so all of this is coming in with a potential early access build in mind. Starting off with the UI, at first I really disliked it. Everything was just red and yellow and it was kind of hard to see what you were doing. And I imagine if you haven't played the previous Warhammer game and are familiar with which button goes where, it might be a little confusing. After like a few hours I got used to it and I didn't really think about it, so overall for the UI I'd say it might be worse for new players, but I guess the same for everyone else. In terms of graphics, which is what I assume you mean when you say animations and overall smoothness, I believe they're using the same engine as they did for Warhammer 2. Now just because they're using the same engine, that doesn't mean it cannot look better. So the way engine works is of course like how you process things, and how good something looks is usually a matter of how much power you dedicate to making it look that way, how many textures they have, so on and so forth. I'm not gonna go into a whole spiel about game design here, but just to put it into perspective, there's like 1 billion games made in Unity, and some of them can look really good, and some of them have like 10 pixels. But overall, I don't see the big graphical improvement here. I think like the shading and coloring is slightly different. There might be a bit more depth to it, but that's about it in my opinion. What I will say is that the game is definitely more demanding than Warhammer 2. In Warhammer 2, I could play with everything on Ultra or High, and in Warhammer 3, I've had to go down to High and Medium for most details and things. So that might be bad news for any of you who have a subpar computer. Again, this is an early build, potentially everything of this could be fixed, but for me at least I had to go down like one step in graphical settings to make everything run smoothly all the time. Are there still Ogre Mercenaries like in Warhammer 2 right now? I don't think so, at least not for the Warhammer 3 campaign. I haven't encountered it yet, but then again, I haven't played very much as Cafe, who is the faction that starts the closest to the Ogre Kingdom, but I did have one campaign where I was playing as Chaos Undivided, and I played for 80 turns without a single Ogre Mercenary camp showing up. Then again, perhaps they don't show up for Chaos factions. I can't say for sure, but I don't think they are. I haven't seen anyone else playing a campaign who've been able to recruit ogres either. My guess is that they will be added with the big map update / Immortal Empires, whatever it's gonna be called, and that in the main Warhammer 3 campaign, you cannot recruit Ogre Mercenaries. But again, I am not 100% sure on that. I'll be sure to update the pinned comment down below if I find out that is the case. Is there variety in the minor settlement battles? Yes, but in my current 20 hours of playtime, I have played the same minor settlement map multiple times. That said, there are different, graphical or textural versions of the same map. So a minor settlement battle against a faction like Chaos will have, a Chaos-looking city, and then a battle against, let's say, Cafe will have a more Cafeing-looking settlement, even though the layout is the same. So even if they are the same map, they do look different, and for me at least, so far, I've almost always thought of it as a new map whenever I see new textures, even though the layout is the complete same. I don't have an exact number of how many different minor settlement maps there is, but again, to me at least, there has been enough variety between them that I don't feel like I've played one of them a lot more than any other, and I haven't felt, oh, here comes the same map once more. But honestly, it's probably one of the things I like the most about Warhammer 3, the minor settlement battles, because they're just so different from what we're used to. Land battles were obviously usually just open large fields with some trees here and there, and if you're unlucky, a statue in the middle. And then major siege battles were just, the same, but with walls. But the minor settlement battles are just so different, like much more narrow corridors to fight in. You can't just put in 20 units in the same direction and have them fight all at the same time. You kind of got to split up your army and think about where you want to have your fast movers, because if your fast movers are along with the rest of your army, well, they're never going to get in there because there's just not room for them. Or if you send them in first, well, they will get in there, they will do damage, but how do they get out? There's just much more room for strategy and using units differently, and I really, really like it. And honestly, I'm gonna say this now, and I'm probably gonna regret it. If CA decided to do like a $5 DLC, which is like, okay, here's 10 more minor settlement maps, I would buy that right away. I really like it. I hope they add more maps, either free or as a paid DLC. I don't really care. I just want more. Now I quickly want to take this time to shout out my Patreon as well as official affiliate links for Warhammer. The Patreon is just $1 if you please, and you'll get access to some alternate art. So if you're into that kind of thing, then go ahead and sign up for just $1. It really means a lot and can help me out quite a bit. To put it into perspective, if you donate $1 for 1 month, that's about 1,000 views on one video here on YouTube. Alternatively, you can also buy Warhammer 3, Warhammer 2, or Warhammer 1 through any of my affiliate links, and I will get a small cut of that. The affiliate links are directly sponsored or given out by Creative Assembly, the creators of the Total War games, so you don't have to worry about G2A or any other sites like that where the keys might be a little bit fishy. So not only are you supporting me and the channel by buying through these links, you're also making sure that the money actually end up at Creative Assembly and not at some filthy key stealing person. Links to the Patreon and the affiliate links can be found in the description below. Is Total War Warhammer 3 beginner friendly? Well, it is a 3x based game with RTS elements, and because of that, I'm simply gonna go ahead and say no. Unless you have prior experience with this type of game from Civilization or other Total War games, then there is just gonna be a lot of information, and I don't think it'll be beginner friendly for anyone. That doesn't mean it's a bad game, but it's not beginner friendly. That said, I will give CA a nice applause here for making a much better tutorial / introduction than previous games. There's an actual 3 to 4 hours prologue campaign that will teach you just about everything you need to know, and not only teach you the game, but also give you like an idea of where the story is going and why it is where it is. Unlike Warhammer 2, where you're like, pick one of 4 different lords and you like have 2 battles and they just say, go play the game, have fun. So is it beginner friendly? No, but it has a much better tutorial / introduction than the previous games. Has the Vassal System been reworked? This was asked in cohesion with the Slaanesh vassalization thingy, whatever majingy mechanic. And to be fair, I don't have enough experience playing as Slaanesh to be able to tell, or just with any faction in general. My quick answer would be, I assume they've done something where your allies don't declare war on your vassals and stuff like that, but I just can't say for sure. Maybe they haven't. I will need more experience, but I'll be sure to mention it in a future Slaanesh guide / video, and I'll try to have a better answer for you. Is the AI behavior better or worse than in Warhammer 2? I would say it is better, but perhaps not the way that you think. I don't think the playstyle is much different from Warhammer 2, but before, hybrid units would also be on skirmish mode just by default for the AI. And what that meant was that something like Lothan Sea Guards, which have spears and bows, would still run away from cavalry charging into them, even though they, anti-large, charge defense, all that stuff. But in Warhammer 3, it does seem like skirmish units that have both melee weapon and bows, or some kind of missile weapon, are not on skirmish mode automatically and will actually, stand still and take the charge and things like that. Full missile units are still on skirmish, and they do still do some dumb stuff. Marauder Horsemen, for example, will sometimes just skirmish in the direction of your entire army and then get caught by something else while avoiding something. But I do think that there's been some priority targeting updates where the AI is better at picking out which units they should try and fight and try to kill first. I have experienced quite a lot of times that the enemy lord will not just run into whatever's in front of him, but actually try and get through to attack my caster, for example. Overall, I will say that it is better. I can't exactly say by how much, but it's definitely gone in the right direction. Could it still be better? Probably, but it's pretty decent. What is the best faction? Ah yes, the good old question of what is the best in a single player game. Well, mostly single-player focused game. Anyways, let me just start this off by saying that I am not a meta solver. If you don't know what a meta solver is, it's the kind of person who goes out there and does a bunch of testing to figure out what is the best and what works the best, and then just uses that in every situation rather than, do whatever they want. In my case, I'm much more of a, I really like these units, I want to build an army around these units kind of person, rather than, I'm just gonna buy 12 Sisters of Avalorn and just kill everything. In any case, from my experience, both Khorne and Sneech, whatever, both of those guys seem to have quite easy starts. However, there might be some previous Warhammer knowledge bias when I'm playing those guys. Any new player might find them a bit harder because they do have a bit confusing mechanics. But as a Warhammer veteran or a Total War Warhammer veteran, I just know these things, and as such, it's an easy start for me at least. Both Kislev and Cafe have a lot of hybrid units, so you can stand still and shoot and then charge in when they get close enough, which is also probably pretty easy to play. I think perhaps Slaanesh is actually up there as one of the strongest factions when you learn to play them. The thing is that it's gonna take some practice because goddamn, everything in Slaanesh's army just dies really quickly. So best faction, can't really say for sure. Khorne and Siege are probably the easiest to get started with if you already have some Warhammer experience. If you're a completely new player, I'd probably go with Kislev or Cathay. And if you're a micro master, like, sending out units left and right and cycle charging and all that kind of thing, I think Slaanesh is going to be really strong. Please note that this does not mean that the Ogre Kingdoms and or Nurgle is bad, it's just that I haven't really played as them yet, so I can't really get an honest opinion on them. Oh yeah, and Chaos Undivided. It seems pretty good, but I think they're in a weird spot where if you want to have a really strong campaign as them, you want to dedicate yourself towards one god, because that's the only way you get access to high tier units. You can get the basic units from every god if you don't dedicate to any of them. But if you're gonna dedicate to one of the gods anyway, why not just play as that faction right away and then get all the benefits? It's like if you really want to use Nurgle infantry alongside Siege demons, I suppose Chaos Undivided is the way to go, or maybe you really like the build your own Demon Prince feature. But yeah, Chaos Undivided, if you just like a little bit of everything, they're great, but otherwise I would probably just pick one of the Chaos factions instead of the Chaos Undivided. And with that, we end this Q&A about Warhammer 3. Thank you all so much for submitting your questions. This video is only possible because you're so nice to give me something to talk about. Do remember to check out the Patreon and or the affiliate links below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again, hopefully, very soon.